Happy Thursday, damnation. Shout out to Sherry from Blue Sky, who alerted me to the fact that I have been in such a tizzy this week that I signed off yesterday, wholly believing that it was Thursday and that I would see you guys on, on Monday. Thank goodness that there are folks that keep watch and make sure that I am doing what I say that I will do, which is, be on air 4 days a week. That was so funny to me because it was just a sign of how exhausting this week has been. So I'm glad that you all made it back. I'm glad that you all hold me accountable and hold me down. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, dear friends. Let's wrap up this effing week. So glad you're here. Hello, damn nation, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. It is Thursday. I promise I've checked my calendar all day long to ensure that I didn't have another slip up. But it's been a hell of a week. I mean, I got to tell you, those of you who are watching on Substack and may have seen the check-in with Jared this week, it's just been a lot. It's been so heavy. It's been a whirlwind. It's been so fucking cold here in New York. I mean, just like bitter. And it's to me, it's like winter is just such a metaphor for where we are in the country right now. It is cold, it is dark, it is bitter. It is cutting to the bone. And that is exactly what this administration is trying to do. And also, why the fuck is January so long? My God, January feels like a year into itself. It is the 29th, and I'm still like, when is the end of January? Seriously. Um, Nonetheless, folks, we start off today with a story that I think is just not getting enough attention. And I'm tired of giving mainstream corporate media. I mean, I don't do it here, but I think that we should all be tired with giving mainstream corporate media the benefit of the doubt. Like at this point, with this fire hose of news and fuckery that we have dealt with now for well over a decade, you should be able to walk, chew gum, juggle, and moonwalk backwards at the same time. Like that's what this regime, that's what the downfall of the American empire requires. And so we start off today with the story out of Georgia. The Trump administration, this comes to you from the Griot. The Trump administration raids Fulton County, Georgia election office. Dangerous escalation. The FBI is seeking to seize ballots from the 2020 presidential election as part of a broader probe related to Trump's false claims of voter fraud. Now, folks, we have to remind ourselves, before I even get into this, that Rudy Giuliani uh is like has been under investigation, has lost like his home, has lost money, has lost respect, and I believe may have lost his legal license, all for bringing over 60 bullshit cases following the 2020 election, bringing all of these fraudulent cases. Donald Trump has called for investigations over and over again because he can't take the fact that he's a fucking loser. And frankly, I continue to say, I have no evidence, so it's not as if I'm conducting my own investigation. But when we're looking at the size of these rallies that we've seen, when we're looking at the pushback that Donald Trump is being presented with, I mean, Am I 100% sure that Donald Trump didn't tamper with the 2024 election? Am I 100% sure that when he slipped up and said that somehow Elon did something with computers in Pennsylvania, and we don't have to worry about that state? Am I somehow wondering that all things are possible given the bomb threats that were put in place, and given the fact that, again, there was no rigorous investigation by the Democrats or questions that were asked, and not because they didn't think that particularly there could have been something that was off, but because, once again, they wanted to fuck over the country by making it seem as if we were back to normal with free and fair elections, as opposed to auditing and having an authentic investigation. Because anytime that Donald Trump is involved in any goddamn thing, I'm gonna make the presumption that shit isn't on the up and up. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm going to make the assumption that if Donald Trump is involved in anything, that it is not on the up and up. So if I would have been Kamala Harris, right? And people were already losing faith in the system because of Donald Trump's stunts and because of the insurrection and because of all of these things that he has done, then I would have said, I want to ensure the American people that all was right, that every vote was counted. So we're going to audit every single vote to ensure it, right? That's it. And then allow the American people to walk off and be like, oh, we really are that fucking stupid. This country really is a nation of dum-dums that decided, really, after looking at Donald Trump's first term, that, oh, this is the guy that we want in charge of everything, even though they offered up a 900-page plan that told us that they were readily bringing America back, dragging, kicking, and screaming into the 18th century. But I digress. Let us go back to Georgia, shall we? Okay. So in Georgia, they kick in the door, right, with their warrant. And according to CNN, the raid is part of the Justice Department's effort to seize election records as part of a broader probe of alleged voter fraud in the county, which includes Atlanta. Funny. Where do all of the people of color live in Georgia? I mean, they live all around the state, but where are folks concentrated? Could it be Fulton County? Could it be in Atlanta? Okay. Anywho, in December, the DOJ's Civil Rights Division sued, which is just laughable that they even have a Civil Rights Division anymore. I guess it's for the preservation of the civil rights of white people, sued Fulton County along with several states seeking copies of ballots from the 2020 election. Trump is terrified of what's coming in the midterm elections this year. He's afraid of Democrats who will actually hold him accountable, winning out in the May primaries. And he's trying to interfere more broadly with the general election outcomes in November, said Dr. Everton Blair, Georgia 13 congressional candidate. The former board chair of the Gwinnett County School Board added, Trump is using 2020 as a smokescreen to engineer a takeover of our votes in 2026 because he knows he lost already. This isn't about 2020, it's about 2026. And this is the thing that when people want to ask me nonsensical questions with regard to how do I think that midterms are going to play out, and when I say to folks, I don't think that we're getting to midterms because Donald Trump is absolutely not going to move forward with a free and fair election if the polls stay the way that they are, which is he is widely unpopular. Republicans are widely unpopular. They have absolutely nothing to campaign on, which is why so many of them are retiring, right? And guess what? Running for office has become, I don't know, one of the most dangerous jobs to do these days. We'll talk about Ilhan Omar in a minute. Georgia State Senator Rashawn Kemp, who represents Fulton County, called the seizing of ballots, quote, unprecedented escalation designed to sow doubt and fear around election. For years, election workers in Fulton County have endured false accusations, political intimidation, and even threats simply for doing their jobs and upholding the will of the voters. Now, we are watching a president weaponize the FBI against the very people responsible for administering free and fair elections, said Kemp. Donald Trump knows he and his party are headed toward defeat in 2026. And this is what desperation looks like, using the power of the federal government to undermine confidence in elections before a single vote is next. And so this is what I say, right? Which is, we've known that this was coming, right? And again, I'm going to look to the Biden administration and say, what is it that the Biden administration did to secure our elections moving forward, to make sure that any president coming after Biden wasn't going to be able to weaponize the federal government in order to obstruct our election system? Again, I ask, right? Donald Trump told you out loud, like a cartoon villain, what his plans were and what he intended to do. And Joe Biden and the Biden administration, they did absolutely nothing. What did Merrick Garland's Department of Justice do to ensure that there would be no infiltration into our free and fair elections if he was so hell-bent on securing our institutions and our democracy? What the fuck did he do to safeguard it? Not a goddamn thing. So Donald Trump is the mobster that is coming in to finish the fucking job that he started in 2020 when he said, go take your country back. So now that he is coming up against midterms and knows, right? Because again, Donald Trump moves in a reactionary posture all the time because he's guilty and he knows that he's guilty. And his biggest fear is that if Democrats get back in power, he is going to be impeached. And if they take back the Senate and they take back the House, right, he's going to be impeached and fucking removed. And then all of the investigations that were put on ice after he won the 2024 elections will be ramped the fuck back up. And that is what he is terrified of. Okay? So even just think about this, folks. The winning back or holding on to the Republican majority isn't because Donald Trump actually believes in like the Republican policies that he's putting forth. No, it is a CYA, cover your ass. And that is what this is all about. And so knowing that, we all knew that, even if you thought, oh my God, Donald Trump is disgraced, he lost an election, he's never going to run again. The moment that Donald Trump announced that he was running for office again, there should have been a meeting in the fucking Situation Room. There should have been war rooms. Secretary of States and election workers should have been pulled in to say, what is it that we can do to ensure that our elections in America, regardless of who is on the ballot, remain free and fair? What are the safeguards that we're putting in place? And again, they did nothing, just hoping that all will be well. I'm telling you, when history writes this moment, if in fact we actually have history in the future, which I don't believe that we will, but let's just say that we do, right? Bet. What is going to be written about Joe Biden? It's not that Joe Biden was this nice guy, not that he was a statesman. It is going to be that what preceded the fall of democracy was Joe Biden's presidency, and the fact that he did absolutely nothing other than offer us up niceties and want us to rush back to normal before taking care of the fucking abnormal. That is going to be Joe Biden's legacy. And for anybody that wants to just, let us sing song and remember him as like the shucks, hardworking son of a worker in Philadelphia bullshit, let me be the one that stands up on the soapbox with the fucking microphone that reminds people, remember that thing called democracy we all used to hold on to and take for granted and love? That's gone now? Yeah, this is the man that you can actually point to and say, if only he had done his full job. So take a listen to the Fulton County Commissioner, Mo Ivory, who let us know on an Instagram video exactly what was going on yesterday when the FBI was raiding the offices.
Hi, everybody. Listen, I know you're watching the news. You're seeing a lot of stuff about this FBI raid at the Fulton County elections and registrations. I'm on the inside right now. So I just want you to be like real discerning about all that you're hearing from people who are on the outside of what's going on. I'm going to give you the truth about what's happening. So they served a warrant, the FBI, this is Trump, serving a warrant to go pick up the 2020 ballots, which are in a secure location inside of here, 700 boxes. The first warrant that they gave was incorrect legally, like they didn't follow the right procedure. They went back and they fixed it, and they came back, and now they are actually collecting the boxes. They are in the chain of command in Fulton County is that once they are archived, they become the possession of the clerk of Superior Court, which is Shay Alexander. She is here and she is with them inventorying everything that they're taking. We, the commissioners, the chairman, the county attorney, are trying to figure out a legal plan as to maybe an injunction, a motion to quash. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out. We're getting all kinds of legal advice to stop this, because once they have the ballots, how do we then turn around and do something different when they've already got their hands on it? So this is an attempt to take your vote away. This is all about November 2026, about the primary on May 19th and then the November election. He does not want the midterm elections to take away his power. So he's trying to create chaos. So this is what he does. Chaos in Minnesota, chaos in Fulton County. We are a target. Protect your vote at all costs. I'm telling you, everybody always says your life depends on it. Oh, your life does depend on it this time.
She could not have said it clearer as to what is happening. It is obvious what Donald Trump, the DOJ, and that fucking Russian bot, Tulsi Gabbard, is doing. Right? Like, they are looking at looking at their watches, looking at the calendar, saying, we got to smash and grab. This is what I continue to say about this regime. It is a smash and grab regime, folks. Like, they don't care about what mayhem, chaos, blah, blah. This is not like an organized heist. It's just like, just throw a bunch of shit at the wall, throw a bunch of ICE agents at people, and just grab what it is that you can, because we're running out of time. Whether that's because Donald Trump is actually running out of time, or they know that this regime is running out of time. But either way, what I continue to say is that predators become more and more dangerous when they are backed into a corner. This is the most dangerous time between now and the midterm elections that this country is going to see. And we haven't even made it through the decade of January yet. And multiple people are dead, and a child has died in ICE custody, and another one is a 5-year-old that is in prison right now. This is Trump's America. Okay. So I'm like, we don't have to pretend. We don't have to pretend like mainstream corporate media has been doing, for instance, in not connecting the dots between Donald Trump's escalated violent rhetoric and actual violence that has been happening. We know, for instance, that Melissa Hortman, her husband, and their dog were shot dead. And who was the perpetrator? A Trump supporter. We know that Nancy Pelosi's husband almost caught his end of time. Why? Because of a Trump supporter. All of these people, right, are radicalized at different moments, at different times. And it all comes from the same place, Donald Trump's fucking mouth. So they have allowed this man for nearly 15 years to just pop off at the mouth and just say, oh, it's just words, or oh, it's locker room talk, or oh, it's a joke. And he literally has blood on his hands. So, surprise of all surprises today is that his wayward Justice Department has charged the man accused of attacking Representative Ilhan Omar at the town hall. The Department of Justice has filed federal charges against the man accused of attacking Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar at a town hall in Minneapolis on Tuesday. In a newly filed court documents, a close associate told investigators that the alleged attacker previously said that someone should kill the Minnesota lawmaker. Local police arrested and booked Anthony James Kazimierzak, 55, for third-degree assault after he appeared to spray Omar with an acidic-smelling liquid from a syringe as she addressed constituents from a lectern. In a criminal complaint filed on Wednesday, the Justice Department charged Kazmierzak with a single count alleging he forcibly assaulted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with Omar, a crime that carries up to a year in prison. In an attached affidavit signed by an FBI special agent, a forensic team determined that the substance sprayed at Omar was a mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. Also included are pictures of the syringe that Kazimierzak is accused of using to assault the congresswoman. The agent said the liquid stained on Omar's clothes and may have reached her face and her right eye. Thank God it was just apple cider vinegar. Thank God it wasn't acid. Thank God it wasn't some type of poison that he was able to get to her and inject with. And what I can say from the videos that I have seen of the different angles of the attack, right? Representative Ilhan Omar, not to be fucked with. This is a woman who has literally seen war up close and personal. The way that that woman squared up against that man before wherever her security was jumped in between them, she was about to take matters into her own hand. And then, frankly, when you listened, if you listen, and sadly, I don't have the audio in front of me, but if you listened to her today, a reporter asked her, whether or not she'd be intimidated, blah, blah, blah. And she was just like, no, I'm built for this. Like, if you think that, she's like, I've been through war. Right. So if you think that like your name calling and your rhetoric and what have you is going to scare me, like, miss me with that. I'm not, and I would have added that she ain't no Marjorie Taylor Greene. She ain't no fucking lightweight. Okay. She's actually about this life, about representing her people and about protecting them and about protecting herself. Like no one should have to, right? No representative, no political representative should ever have to square up. But the fact that she was all about it and ready, tells me that Donald Trump picked the wrong one. He has been trying to go after this woman and has been going after her for years. She said today in an interview that she has the highest rate of death threats of all of the members of Congress. And that when Donald Trump left office, they plummeted. And then now that he's back in office, they have skyrocketed. So you want to tell me that there's no, right, that we can't connect the dots, we don't see the threads between Donald Trump's escalated rhetoric and the actions that his deranged followers take on his behalf? Come on. So thankfully, this is what I said earlier when I was on Tavis Smiley's show earlier this afternoon. I said, thankfully, Representative Maxwell Frost, who was also assaulted at Sundance, punched in the face and told by a Trump supporter that he would be deported next, that Trump would come for him. And Representative Ilhan Omar, I'm just grateful that they are alive to tell their stories, because we live in a time that apparently it doesn't make national news and it isn't a part of the conversation all week long about how politics in this country have gotten out of hand because of Donald Trump. There is no both sides to this, because there is nobody on the left that calling somebody a fascist that acts like a fascist, calling somebody a Nazi that actually cosplays as a Nazi. That's just alerting you to what I'm seeing with my two fucking eyes. However, saying that because she wears a hijab and is Muslim, that she's a terrorist, right? And that she doesn't belong in this country, very different levels. And the fact is that we've become way too desensitized to this type of violence that we kind of just shrug it off. And so does the media. And by the way, I have yet to see, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm happy to admit it when I am, but I have yet to see the Democratic establishment come out and condemn the violence that was visited upon two members of their body. I have not seen the Democratic establishment link arms and get behind Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Congressman Maxwell Frost. So, what does that also tell you about the establishment? By the way, speaking of fucking lack of courage, word on the street also was that Hakeem Jeffries told members of Congress not to go to Minnesota because it was dangerous. Meanwhile, the people of Minnesota are living under occupation and threat every single moment over the last 3 weeks, but the leader, the minority leader, apparently told representatives, "Oh, don't go there, it's too dangerous." Sir, if you don't turn in your fucking badge, if you don't step down, somebody that is worth a damn needs to primary the hell out of this man. I am so sick. I am so sick of him and sick of Chuck Schumer. But there are some members that are actually doing a job. Representative Joaquin Castro visited Adrian Conejo Arias and his son Liam at the ICE detention facility. Liam is not doing well. As you can see here, he is asleep in his father's arms while the representative is there. And also Jasmine Crockett was also there visiting him. Joaquin Castro, a Texas Democratic congressman, has visited the 5-year-old boy and his father who were detained last week by federal immigration agents in Minnesota and transferred to a detention facility in Texas, providing an update about the child's health and well-being. In a social media post on Wednesday, Castro said he visited the boy, Liam Conejo Ramos, and his father, Adrian Conejo Arias, at the immigration detention center in Dilley, Texas. I demanded his release and told him how much his family, his school, and our country loves him and is praying for him. This makes me very emotional. I tell you that there are some stories that just like stop me, and this is one of them. Because again, when people say like, this isn't the country that I know, this isn't America, this is exactly who America has always been. America has always ripped children out of the hands of their parents, ripped children out of the wombs of Black women, stolen children from their tribes. Like, this is America. And to see and to hear that this little boy, his father is saying, hasn't been himself. He's been sleeping a lot because he's depressed and sad. He's not eating because he's 5 years old and he's in jail. And that's who America is. And just to remind you that Tom Homan, who everyone is like, oh, well, thank God Greg Bovino is gone. And I kept saying, like, y'all are playing whack-a-mole with Nazis, playing musical chairs with the devil. Because it was Tom Homan who, when asked, what about the children? And he said, oh, we'll deport them all together. Oh, we don't have to worry about separating children from their families. Everybody's getting deported. And you're holding up this man as if he's somehow better than Greg Bovino? They're all cut from the same white nationalist fucking cloth. So don't like get it twisted that, oh, if you trade out Bovino for Homan, like, oh, things are going to be better. No, they're not. They're just going to be quieter, but they're probably still going, not probably, they are going to be the same. This is a country that has children in prison. But then again, this is also a country that did nothing when police shot and killed Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy on a playground for playing with a toy gun. Oh, they thought he was 21 and playing with a real gun on a fucking kid's playground with no one around? So he was a threat to whom exactly? They didn't even bother to get out of the car. They shot and killed that little boy through the window. This is the same country that after a classroom of lily white children were murdered did nothing with regard to gun laws. So Donald Trump right now is out there offering up some kind of baby bonus for newborns. They don't give a fuck about your kids. They never have. We have the worst child policies, the worst family leave policies of any fucking developed country. And yet they're trying to trick women into having more kids to do what with? Send them down to these gutted out, broken down fucking schools? A mess. A mess. And it's stories like Liam's right now that are actually beginning to make inroads at the lie machine that is Fox News. And so I want you to take a listen because I was shocked as shit when I came across this clip because I said, oh, wow, even those on Fox, right? Those that held up the deportation signs, mass deportations, those that said to Donald Trump, you can grab me wherever you want. Now, all of a sudden, you see, this is the thing. Americans don't want to see the violence that they voted for. That's the thing, is that Donald Trump has gone and this regime has gone steps too far because they're fine with what they voted for. They just don't want to see it, right? It's like, oh, you want to eat the chicken, right? But you don't want to see its head cut off and it turned over and the blood dripping out, and you don't want to be a part of the guts of the thing. So take a listen to what they are saying on Fox.
ICE efforts to deport illegal immigrants. If we ask folks out there, too aggressive, 59%, not aggressive enough, 17%, about right, 24%. That tracks with other polls that we've seen in recent days surrounding a lot of this video that obviously has come out, and there's all kinds of people weighing in on all sides.
Yeah, Brett, I think that's right. It does track with the other polls, and it suggests that while the administration is within its limits, its legal limits in this immigration crackdown and the dragnet that's going on, particularly out in Minnesota, it has hit its political limits. And the Republic's response to what it is seeing on its TV screens and reading about in publications and so forth suggests that people, they want the border closed, they want criminal illegals rounded up, but they see these scenes in the street, particularly the two killings in Minnesota, and they see people who seem otherwise innocent, although they may be here illegally, rounded up. They don't like that. We have a compassionate people, and even illegal immigrants are not beyond the scope of that compassion. And I think the administration is being seen as having gone too far on this, and the polls certainly suggest that.
Being seen as having gone too far on this. You mean dragging pregnant women to the ground? You mean taking nursery school teachers, ripping them out of their classrooms? You mean picking up 5-year-olds with their little Spider-Man backpacks on and terrorizing them? You mean shooting mothers in the head and shooting nurses 10 times? Yeah. You see, what has happened is that Donald Trump and this sick, twisted regime have gone way beyond the scope. And much in the way that civil rights leaders used television and photographs to show the violence of white supremacy. Donald Trump is doing it all over again. He loves a big show. And he thought that his folks were going to be rah, rah, rah behind him. But you know what? They don't like the ickiness that they're feeling. And like I continue to say, Obama deported millions of people. You never heard about it unless you were actually fighting for immigration rights. You didn't see it on your TV screens. You didn't see it in headlines because he didn't have a full-on slave patrol roaming the streets with masks and tear gassing babies and sending them to the fucking ICU. You see, Americans, right? Like, they want to vote for this shit, but they don't want to see it. They don't want to get their hands dirty. And Donald Trump is forcing them to get their hands dirty. He is forcing them. Because every day it's on their screens, every day. And they are watching him lie with abandon. I mean, we all have known that Donald Trump is a liar. We have all known that everybody that has been a part of the first and second regime, that they are sociopathic liars. But their own people now are watching them and they're saying, oh, I thought you were supposed to just go for the blacks and the browns and the trans. Not the white moms that look like my sister or my wife or my cousin. Not the white man that carries a gun. I carry a gun, and that's my right. What about my rights? This is why Donald Trump has found his way into Fulton, Georgia. This is why they are saying to the state of Minnesota, oh, we'll get the ICE agents out. Just give us your voter rolls. Just say that this is a stick up. It'd be a lot easier. So, as all of this is happening, all of this coordinated and strategic chaos that Donald Trump is raining down on this country, well, what's happening to our economy? So glad you asked. The dollar has its worst day since April, after Trump says he's not concerned with recent slide. I'm going to give you, and trust me, I am nobody's economics major, but I did a little digging because I think that what Donald Trump hopes is that people are just as dumb as he is and don't really want to dig into and understand issues beyond the headlines. And so I'm going to walk you through exactly why the dollar being weakened is fucking problematic and why Donald Trump saying that it's like no big deal and quote, I think it's great is what Donald Trump said when speaking in Iowa this week. The dollar's doing great. And it's like, what exactly are you looking at? And this is the lowest that the dollar has been. And again, we're comparing this to a global health pandemic. So I want to tell you why it isn't just going to be bad or more expensive for Americans traveling abroad, as Morgan Stanley said. But I want to walk you through what the Cato Institute, which is actually, right, a conservative think tank, what they said back in August about the dollar weakening. Encouraging a weaker US dollar is bad economic policy. But of course it is. This is coming from the mouth of a man that managed to bankrupt a casino twice. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency and has served as a safe haven for investors from around the world. This status largely reflects the strength of the US economy and the relative stability of its goods, services, and financial markets. Yet the US dollar has lost roughly 8%. And this was back in August, folks, because frankly, I think that the latest that I saw is that it has lost roughly 15% is the latest. But this is coming from August. has lost roughly 8% of its value since the start of the Trump administration, and its response has been strangely enthusiastic. Trump has repeatedly expressed his support for, quote, not a weak dollar, but a weaker dollar, adding that you, quote, make a hell of a lot more money with a weaker dollar. But this is just another example of economic short-sightedness. Like the bad economics displayed across many of the administration's other proposals, this policy ignores knock-on and secondary effects. Yes, in a vacuum, a weaker dollar could benefit some market participants, such as large US-based multinational corporations, MNCs, whose goods become cheaper for foreign purchasers, but this benefit ignores negative spillover effects. Money held by consumers in the US will lose some of its value, especially when buying imported goods. This will exert more inflationary pressure, which could mean further monetary tightening. If consumers see their real wealth reduced from an erosion of the value of their dollars, their demand for goods, including domestic products, will drop. Because guess what, folks? Again, I'm not an economist. This is not rocket science, though. If the dollar is weaker, it means that your money doesn't go as far as it did. We are already dealing with the compression of inflation, right? Making the cost of goods more expensive. And then it's already aggravated by Donald Trump's tariffs, right? So you have tariffs, inflation, and a weakened dollar, which, okay, so if your dollar right now is now worth 75 cents as opposed to a whole dollar, your purchasing power has gone down, which means that guess what I'm going to start doing as a consumer? Buying less. But for those companies that he's talking about that are doing exports, oh, well, they seem more attractive at first to foreign entities that are buying their goods because they can get more because the dollar is not as strong. But the fact is that all of this begins to trickle back down. And as we say, shit rolls downhill and it's going to blanket the consumer, which is us. Another aspect that is ignored by solely focusing on exporters is the jeopardy to the US dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. The USD and financial products denominated in dollars, such as treasury securities or corporate bonds, are the safe asset of choice for investors from around the world. And what did we see after Donald Trump's Greenland fiasco during the World Economic Forum? We saw several countries dump their US bonds because they're no longer seeing the United States as a safe bet. And they're going to take their money and put it elsewhere. And this is why it was earlier this week that I said that I played a clip of another guy on Fox News who was saying, yeah, people are investing in gold because the dollar is going to tank and we are going to see our economy, unlike he's like with the pandemic, this is not going to be a global issue, economic issue. This is going to be a self-inflicted one that is only going to hurt America. I go on. If foreign investors are concerned about losing money when exchanging their own currencies for the USD, their appetite for US financial products could fall, lowering US asset prices. So I want to play for you this clip because, again, I thought that this rundown, this analogy that was provided by this analyst was a really good one. It put things into perspective on how the globe, right, how our former allies and other economic trade partners are now looking at the United States. Take a listen.
Is the rest of the world seeing the United States right now?
Yeah. Mate, I don't know what your school experience was like, but, around about middle school, someone comes to the cafeteria and they decide they're going to play the role of the middle school bully, and it works for them for a while. They shake a few kids upside down and a few quarters fall out of their pockets. But then all the kids grow up and they move on to high school and they realize they don't have to include the bully in their friend group. They tell that guy to go sit elsewhere. That bully discovers he has no friends. Everyone else goes off and forms better, deeper friendships through the rest of high school, and some of my high school mates are still my best mates. And I mean all of this, of course, as a metaphor for our place in the world, which is what's happened right now is Carney has encouraged middle powers to stand up. Carney's gone looking for friends elsewhere. This China deal that he's struck means that the Canadians are now going to be buying electric vehicles from China. Where they're not buying them from now, that's the United States. We've seen much closer relations between Europe and Latin America. And we've seen everyone else looking to find better friends right now. And so right now, we're that guy who thought he was pretty cool when he was the middle school bully, but we're getting frozen out of the grown-up adult relationships.
Fantastic metaphor. Makes perfect sense. Donald Trump is walking around the globe as the middle school bully, pushing smaller countries around, demanding their lunch money. And what they are realizing, as evidenced by what happened at the World Economic Forum when they said, you come for Greenland, you got to go through all of us. And as a matter of fact, that trade deal that we were discussing last summer, we're going to put that on ice. Is that everyone else, instead of relying on the United States, is going to develop other partnerships. They're going to do what Prime Minister Carney is doing with Canada, which is, guess what? I'm going to strengthen my relationships with China. Europe is saying, you know what? Forget about y'all. I'm going to go directly to Latin America. The Chinese said, I don't need your soybeans. I'm going to go to where? I'm going to go directly to Argentina. And now your soy farmers are having to do what? Sell their farms, sell their equipment. Because what happens when you create an unnecessary economic vacuum like Donald Trump is doing? Other people will find ways to fill the void. At first, it's hard. It's hard to make new friends. It's hard to trust new people. But then eventually, over time, you realize, didn't really need that middleman in the first place. And that is what we are seeing happen. And on top of that, we've talked about this on the show before as well. You also have BRICS, right? You also have these other groups that are building an economic front that right now is theoretical, but they are trading with each other. And what happens if they develop their own currency, right? To combat the euro and to combat the failing dollar. And then let's not count out, of course, the richest, and I'm talking about resource rich and probably the future empire, right? Which is in what? The continent of Africa is also, guess who is not having a declining birth rate? Guess who is on the upswing as it comes to technology, as it comes to reinvestments into their own nations? Because guess what happens when you force out the colonizer and you begin to reconnect with your own nations without their fucking meddling? So when we talk about the United States being a declining and crumbling empire, this has been going on, but Donald Trump has accelerated it. What maybe we would have seen in maybe 30, 40 years, we are now going to see in a matter of 5 or 10. That's what happens when you give someone that doesn't know what the fuck that they're doing, when you give somebody that didn't earn it control of the purse strings. They ransack the purse and then they give it back to you and you ain't got nothing in it. On top of which, as we close out today, Trump's other Ponzi scheme that he's running, which is the Board of Peace, right? His way to sidestep the UN. Yeah, well, it also is facing backlash. And it's really interesting, again, what Donald Trump is doing. You see, before he decided to develop his bullshit Board of Peace without any thought of including anyone from Gaza, because it's just a real estate operation for them. They're engaging in ethnic cleansing and a genocide so that they can have the Riviera, French Riviera of that region, Middle Eastern French Riviera. This is what Donald Trump said. $1 billion to buy in that. Guess who's controlling all of the money? Donald Trump. It has backfired, and people are now re-engaging on another level with the UN that they hadn't before. Trump's latest attempt to sidestep the United Nations through his Board of Peace appears to have inadvertently backfired after major world powers rejected U.S. aspirations for it to have a larger international mandate beyond the Gaza ceasefire and recommitted their support for the over 80-year-old global institution. The board, to be chaired by Trump, was originally envisioned as a small group of world leaders overseeing his plan for Gaza's future. But the Republican president's ambitions have expanded to envisioning the board as a mediator of worldwide conflicts, a not very subtle attempt to eclipse the Security Council, which is charged with ensuring international peace and security. The board's charter also caused some dismay by stating Trump will lead it until he resigns with veto power over its actions and membership. Why would you join that? Why would you pay $1 billion to be Trump's sycophant, where he gets to control your moves, your international engagements? It doesn't make any sense. And so the only people that joined it, right, were other dictatorships. What he thought was going to be this brilliant scheme ended up backfiring and actually strengthening the UN, which has been falling off for many years. Everything that man touches turns to shit. Everything he touches. As we close out today, I want to bring you this speech that Mayor Jacob Frey gave before the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And I want you to take a listen, because this is what a leader sounds like. This is what a fighter sounds like. You see, we have been so conditioned, again, to just accept the crumbs and the status quo that we forget that these representatives are supposed to represent us and fight for our best interests. So I want you to take a listen to his address.
By their own words, what we've seen this administration push for is this whole concept that might makes right. That might makes right. Stephen Miller has pushed for this concept, calling it the iron law of the world. That might makes right. Stephen Miller is wrong. Time and again, America has rejected the law of the jungle. Time and again, America has rejected this notion that might makes right. That notion and that belief that we are of something greater than simply force has allowed our country to rise in international influence and allowed great cities to be laboratories of democracy. We must reject the notion that might makes right again and again. We must understand that it is not the clash of iron that furthers the notions of democracy, but it is the intense battle of ideas. Might does not make right. In cities, we all recognize that ideas make right. And so, from Portland, Maine, to Portland Avenue in Minneapolis, to Portland, Oregon, mayors, we do not back down to bullies. We stand up for democracy. We understand that the common ideals that we hold are essential to the endurance of our great republic. This may not have been a battle that we signed up for. Each and every one of us entered public service for a different reason. Some of us entered to keep our cities safe. Some of us entered because we love to build affordable housing. Some of us entered because we care about climate. But now is also a moment when we all got to stand together. You have this unique relationship with the American electorate. This is more important than being a Democrat or a Republican. This has to do with our day-to-day lives, who we are as a people, who we are as a democracy, and who we can be as American citizens. Mayors have that important role. I know that you will carry it out, and I cannot be prouder to be part of this tremendous team. And so, on behalf of all of these incredible Minneapolis residents that are going through a very difficult time right now, to say the least, thank you.
Here's what I will say, because I know that some will hear this and say, well, America has never been what it is that he is articulating. And here is what I will say, which is that I still, even after everything that we have seen, even after everything that we know to be true, I still believe in the possibility of this country. I still believe in a multiracial democracy. I still believe in the possibility of liberty and freedom for all. Because if we don't, friends, have that shared belief, then what the fuck are we even doing? Why are the people in Minnesota in the streets? Why were the people in LA out in the streets? Why are the people of New York and Maine and everywhere that these slave patrols have touched down? Why are they fighting for their communities and their families and their neighbors? Because what links us, right, is what Martin Luther King talked about when he said that our fates were intertwined, that our individual freedom rests on our collective liberation. And so it isn't to shrug off words that are meant to stimulate and activate our sense of responsibility. It is to understand that all of us in this moment are being called, as every generation before us has been called, to do something, to actually create the society that you want to live in, to stop settling for the scraps, and to actually make what is embezzled and chiseled into marble statues about liberty and freedom and equality, to make that true. And it is each generation's responsibility to take up that mantle and to push forward. Liberty isn't something that is given. It is something that is fought for. And we should know that now more than any other time in our lives. And with that being said, dear friends, tomorrow is the first attempt at a nationwide shutdown. For information, I encourage you all to go to nationalshutdown.org, nationalshutdown.org. This isn't just about solidarity. This is about us beginning a commitment to each other about creating the kind of country that we want. Now that we have seen vividly the country that they are hell-bent on giving us, it is time that we all put skin in the game, whether or not ICE is at our doorstep or at our neighbor's doorstep or in another state. This is about all of us. And I am hoping beyond hopes that this time will be different than the times before. That we actually will understand that our fates are intertwined, that we will understand that you can't be free until we are all free. So tomorrow, no work, no school, no shopping. Get more information from nationalshutdown.org. We got a lot of work ahead of us, dear friends. This is about the long haul. This is not about one and done. This one day alone is not going to do it, but it will begin the marathon that we are on. It needs to start somewhere. And tomorrow is that day. That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moodie Show. Before I get out of here, as always, I want to thank those of you who have been so generous with your super stickers and super thanks. I want to thank Amanda for your $9.99, Kathy for your $4.99, Megan coming in big for $49.99. Appreciate you so much. Done with this, $10. Appreciate you. Rebecca coming in with $10. Appreciate you. FRP $4.99. Susan, our great moderator, providing a gift of the channel. In the middle of nowhere with $10. Megan again with another $19.99. I appreciate you so much. SHK with $5. PJ, as always, coming in big with $49.99. Kat, thank you so much for $4.99. Mimi, every dollar counts. Thank you so much for the $1.99. We Dieter, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Sandy coming in with Canada, $20. Appreciate you. In the middle of nowhere again with $10. Sherry. Sherry, you're the reason why. I remembered it wasn't Thursday yesterday. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Landon with $10. Appreciate you. Ghostface Killer gifting again. Another membership. Morgan becoming a YouTube member, and Henry coming in with $20. Folks, this is people-powered independent media, and I could not do this work without all of your incredible commitment to this channel, to this movement, to this moment. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And folks, if you don't have the ability to support with money, please just like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check to see that you are actually subscribed to this channel. Hit that bell. Share this on your platforms with your friends. And it is Thursday. So the Danielle Moodie Show, will be back on Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, but I will be back tomorrow with Wajahat Ali at 12 p.m. Eastern for Democracy-ish. And also, friends, there is an episode up right now of our midweek check-in that we did on Substack. It is up now, and you can check that out. And that is from yesterday. Again, folks, tomorrow, ICE out, nationwide shutdown. No work, no school, no shopping, but we will be here. So join us. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, stay safe, friends. Stay safe. We are living in incredibly, incredibly dangerous times. And if you are going out and you are protesting, please Make sure people know where you are. Make sure you wear masks. One, if there's any type of tear gas, eyewear, right? Eye protection, goggles, if there's any type of spraying of any chemicals. And I'm hearing that they are testing out these horrific sound things. So bring earplugs. Get yourself protected. Make sure that you have water to wash out your eyes, to wash your hands, gloves, water, eye protection, ear protection, nose and mouth protection. Stay safe. Yes, Sonic. Oh, the earplugs don't work, somebody just said. Damn. I don't know. Do the best that you can. But stay out there, folks. Appreciate you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.